inside property community. How is everyone going? For those that are able to join us live this evening, welcome. We've had a couple of weeks off. We've been off gallivanting with two puppies, but we've had a couple of weeks off, but we are so genuinely excited to have the amazing Fabienne Myler on this evening. Is that how you pronounce your last name, Fabienne?
No, it's fine. It's the French version, so Miller.
Miller, oh, so sexy. That's such a great name. So yeah, we it's funny because we were chatting before we went live this evening, and it seems like interior design, property staging is so relevant at the minute, and it's everywhere, and rightly so. And it was an absolute no-brainer to get Fabienne on, because what you're doing in that world at the minute is next level good. We've been following you now for the last couple of months. Your group has grown exponentially quick, and we just absolutely love everything you do. So we almost feel like it's a world exclusive tonight to get you on. First, yeah, you heard it here first, guys. Yeah, we're so happy. Before I pass over to Steph to kick things off officially, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. So I'm just going to go on to, so we've got some people online tonight. Good, awesome. Right, so first things first, I'll put a little link in the comments for us to be able to show. So if I give everyone an example now, so the person there that said hello, we can't see that picture, that beautiful picture and the name, because you haven't clicked a link to allow StreamYard to show your picture. So it's really quick and easy. You can jump on it and you can click a link, and it takes a couple of seconds, and then we can see and show everybody your beautiful faces and your beautiful names. Right, so I'm going to kick off and I'm going to send it to Steph.
Good evening, everybody. So, Fabienne, in a sentence, can you please tell us who you are and where you come from?
So I'm Fabienne Miller. I'm French. I'm from, I live in East Midlands, so near Loughborough, and I'm a property stylist. I basically have a passion to create spaces where people want to be.
Awesome. Nice. So would you call yourself a property stylist? Is that
yes,
right?
Yes, and it's in fact it's something I wanted to kind of cover, because I think there's a bit of a blur, and quite rightly, between interior designer, property stager, property stylist. There's different jobs in there, and I think and even within my job it's a bit flowy. It's not the boundaries are a bit broad, I would say.
Okay, so I guess following on from that, then, how would you define the difference between the three, and why is it that you like to call yourself a stylist?
Yeah, so I think interior designer, I think it's when, this is a job where you're a lot more involved at the start, I would say, where you're probably involved with the architect, for instance. So, you get involved with the layout, with the lighting, this kind of thing. And then within the staging community, you would have, you have people who are renting, hiring furniture for, particularly when you want to sell. And you've got people like me who mostly work for service accommodation and HMOs, and we come and basically we provide the furniture and the furnishing. So it's kind of where the difference is.
Yeah, no, I get that. That completely makes sense. And how did you find
what I would say as well, there's another kind of layer in that, which is now something that is growing as well, which is the virtual staging. And I think with this, particularly with the COVID situation, I think that has grown a lot, particularly again for selling properties. Because you can't visit, you can't do the viewings anymore. So that's kind of the way around.
No, absolutely. We'll definitely come back to that. I guess the first proper question I wanted to ask was, how did you find yourself in property styling?
So if I give like a tiny bit of background, just to kind of get the flow of what's been happening. So my background is chemistry, right? I didn't study interior design. However, I've always been passionate about color, about craft, it's always something been part of my life. But as a young person, it was not really seen as a career, I would say. So I went for chemistry, and I was quite passionate about materials and plastics. So I ended up specializing in packaging. And I worked mostly for, yeah, I know this is not the story that usually people expect. So I worked for large companies and as a project manager. And this is where I kind of learn tools that actually help me now, like, you know, all the processes and kind of more of a methodology to what I do, which I think naturally it's not me, but I've learned these skills basically. And from that, basically, I was based in London for a long time, for maybe 10 years, and had kids. And then suddenly you have to kind of reinvent yourself a bit, which I'm sure a lot of people will relate. And we moved to Loughborough, and this is when basically I had to start looking a bit more into what I wanted to do. And so I got into a lot of self-development books, so various kind of ways to almost prepare myself for the next chapter, I think. And I came across a book, a property book, and because I've always been interested into property, I basically really kind of resonated with it, and I started doing some trainings and became a property sourcer. And this is when it kind of, yeah, so this is where kind of where it started. I didn't have the, I'm going to say it, I didn't have the confidence, I think, to just do it for myself, which was the ultimate goal. I wanted to start investing, but because my skill set was quite good for, you know, all the analysis, the due diligence, I thought, well, let's just start with that. And I did that for a year, did a, relatively good job, but it was just not my thing. And I was doing a lot of networking at that time. One night I went to a network meeting, and I was kind of thinking that, I was going to stop. Basically, it was just not working for me. And I met with someone who told me that there was a job available as a service accommodation property manager. And next thing I know, I started doing that again, processes and compliance and all the stuff from my background. And at some point, within 6 months, I think I got the chance to do some staging, basically. And then I kind of realized that was me. And I got given like a 5-bedroom house to kind of stage for this service accommodation operator. And I knew then that this is what I wanted to do. So I resigned and decided to create my own company. And from there, basically, I had a chance to work on a massive 10-bed house. It was for an HMO. And it's kind of, with the power of Facebook and all that, I did, it's, in fact, I can show. Let me share the screen. This is my first baby, and I think this is the one that really kind of helped me to kind of get out there.
Sorry. This is for the Ride Pocket community. We're going to share screens right now. This is how techie we've got. Yeah,
there we go. Can you see that?
Not yet. Try again. So just while you're
so you said we can we share? Yes, there we go.
Oh, here it goes. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So this is basically the first property I did, and that was a 10-bed HMO. And I'm sure we're going to get into kind of the benefit of staging and what it means for property owners and landlords and SA operator. This one basically, he achieved the top rent they could. I mean, it was, as far as the estate agent was concerned, it was the best HMO in Derby. This is in Derby. And they filled the room at the first viewing. All the room were filled straight away at the higher rent they could. And this is the power of staging, basically.
Stupidly powerful. And actually, that bottom right-hand picture that you had up before is the one that we...
is it?
We're actually designing our one of our projects at the minute. We're turning our single let into an SA unit, and we're actually basing it off that design, which we hadn't even told you about. But yeah, we can show you some pictures of that as we go through.
No, exciting, yeah.
Right, just quickly, I just wanted to say to everybody that's online at the minute as well, if anyone's got any questions, I know there's a couple on at the minute. I'm going to come back to those when there's like a natural pause, but please put your questions in the comments, and we'll definitely come back to those probably towards the end. And also, I just wanted to mention to people as well that Fabienne has really kindly offered to do a 15-minute free staging consultation to everyone that's going to be watching live tonight. So if you were interested in a 15-minute free consultation from Fabienne, then just put like a thumbs up in the comments, and then we can coordinate that after we've done the live this evening. But I just wanted to let you guys know that. So a question from me, and I guess we kind of already touched on the benefits anyway of staging, but it seems like staging is so kind of popular at the minute in the private rental sector. Is there any reason why you think all of a sudden now? And I know we kind of touched on COVID before, but why is it suddenly now just come to the forefront? And or have been there? I mean, we've only been in these particular kind of groups for about a year now ourselves, so it's not like we're had loads of experience, but certainly in the groups that we move in, it just feels like it's just so much kind of momentum that's gaining at the minute, and it's just mega.
Well, I think, I mean, you're saying staging, but I think it goes a bit broader than that. I think generally people are getting a bit more daring with what they do with colors. And I think, if I have to think about, the core reason, there's been quite a lot of programs on, you can name a few, kind of interior designer kind of program. And I think it kind of inspired people. And, often it's the case where people just lack a bit of confidence in kind of daring things. And I think that's changed. And also people are more open to try new things. So like I haven't done it for a long time, but, I've been on groups, property groups for, 2-3 years. And for sure, I've seen like a growth in the interest and kind of in the engagement around staging. And I think as this is becoming bigger, I think the benefit of it is becoming also clearer to property investors. I think this is where it's from, yeah.
And you have your property staging group for investors that we can put a link on it at the end. But it really feels like you've kind of led the way with that. And like that, like we've said already, that group is grown so quickly, and the engagement that you get on a daily basis in that group is really good. And there's some incredible talents in that group as well that really kind of add that value alongside you as well from a day-to-day basis. But yeah, from our point of view, you've massively led the way on that, and it's kind of like it's infectious.
Well, it's great, and and because it's for me it's such a big passion to be able to share it, and there are a lot of people, like you said, it's many of us, and I wanted this platform to be as open and collaborative as possible. So I've invited people, but not only property investors. I wanted people coming from interior designer, being spatial planners, and even we have a feng shui expert on there. I just wanted really a place where you go not only to share but also to get information. I mean, for me it was such a dream. I kept bombarding various groups with all my stuff, and I just thought, well, why don't you do your own thing? Because maybe it's better to just get a place where all the people who are passionate about the same thing can come.
No, it's amazing. And we're certainly sold on the idea. Those people that maybe aren't quite sure, how important is styling your property for a landlord?
So I've, I mean, for me, I come from a place where it's all about emotions, right? It's how I connect to any project I do. For me, it's about creating feeling, create a connection. This is how you attract people, how you help them to visualize themselves in a space. For me, as if you scroll down an Airbnb, if you scroll down Airbnb, the moment you picture yourself on one of these photos, this is when you win, you get them over. And so I've done a bit of study for you today and yesterday, where I've got in touch with some people, so in Derby and Nottingham, to get some numbers, because I always talk about, how I feel about kind of the attraction and how you want to make a property to stand out. But actually it's down to numbers really. As property investors, is that, show me the money, right? What is it you're bringing to the party? And so what I've done, I talked to someone. So I'm going to share, so sorry, it's a bit of a boring slide, but it's going to talk to many people, I'm sure, because it's about money. So let me share again with my amazing skill. Sorry, bear with me, it's coming.
Just while you're doing that, Fabienne, so Paul Million, who's in the house this evening, and Rosie.
Wow. Hello, you too.
The link is in the comments. I think I'm like the third person that's commented, Paul. So just click on the link in the comments. My friend, it should be there. Right, over to you. Sorry.
No, that's all right. So look, I mean, this one basically it's a case scenario of a student HMO, typical 5-bed, no shared bathroom in Derby. Okay. And I've put, so basically, you know, a stage room, and I put a deed of love, okay? So a bit dated, a bit kind of uninspiring, okay? Your weekly rent vary between, you know, you achieve 105 on the stage one and £10 less in another room, right? The difference per year, it's £2,600. Then the benefit you get from staging, it's not only about, you know, increasing the value of your rent, but it's also attracting more people. Right, and this is something that is widely recognized, you know, that, you know, students particularly will run to get the best bedroom they can. So you avoid these rooms, you avoid this void, sorry. So a room in need of love, I put like a week void a year, right? That represents £525. Then, because you attract people who are happy to pay a bit more money, you have better tenants basically, and you get less damage, right? Less repair. So that we estimated around 60 quid a year per room, right? In total, that represents 3,400, right? 3,500 a year, right? Which is not the price you're gonna pay to just stage your room, right? And suddenly, you know, this is such a difference in kind of what you can achieve just by staging it. And I've got another case. So this one is I discussed with someone in Nottingham, so service accommodation operator, typical 2-bed, and this one, that comparison is brilliant because it's two places, so two apartments who are exactly the same. So it's in the same building, same layout. One is stage, and I can't share unfortunately the photos, but to give you an idea, it was nice, but I wouldn't say anything special, right? They are the console, which to me represents something. It's something you never see a console, because it's something that has no function. So it's really this homely feel you're bringing to the place. There was like a nice olive color, a nice sofa, right? The occupancy is improved from 72%, which is next door, which is kind of a plain. It's not ugly. It's just plain. 72% occupancy versus 85%. The nice night rate has a £10 difference between these two places. It's almost £10,000 a year in revenue difference. I mean, that to me is just, you know, that tells the story in itself.
And that's really important, because when you say, oh, the difference between 140 and 130 pounds a night, you think that's only £10, but actually when you look at it over an annual, you know, annualized, then that's significant, isn't it? And absolutely, it's really good to highlight.
So the next question that we wanted to ask. So okay, so you've got, as a property investor, as a property developer, landlord, you've got a project, you've got a development. When do you start to think about interior design? Is it something that, at what point in the process are you going to, you know, do your funding, you know, get your funding, get everything else in place, get your architect out, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so far I know the theory, but I don't often see the theory happening. You want basically to start thinking about that as early as possible, because you want, you know, even think about the layout of your property. So, you know, you have to think about even where you're going to put your lights, where you're going to have your bed. You want to think about the colors. You want to see, and that comes very early, because if you think about a kitchen, you can't just individually pick your kitchen and then think about the colors of the wall. You want to really kind of together think about the wall scheme, because by doing that, this is how you're going to achieve cohesion and harmony within what you create. So a simple answer is as early as possible. And also you really want to start budgeting for it, because we had a conversation earlier, and I was telling you that to me, the thing with staging, it's almost like the last piece of the puzzle. So there's so much time and effort and money spent on the, you know, the beginning of the process, the due diligence, the legal, you know, the refurb, that by the time you reach the you know, the stage in the stage, you just want to get it out of the door. And that's not how, you know, this is the marketing of your property. This is how you're going to stand out. So you've got to spend the same effort into that phase than you've done during the whole process. And I think, to me, this is often what is not happening.
And I think the other thing is, often people think, right, I've got a room, right, say it's a lounge, I need a sofa, I need, you know, some pictures on the wall, I'll go and buy a lamp. But you mentioned a really useful term, harmony and cohesion. So how actually, when you've got a room in mind, for example, a lounge, do you start to think about that, and where do you go? Where do you start from?
Yeah, I mean, earlier I was thinking about that. I mean, it's, you know, it's a very long kind of answer, because you basically start with different scenario every time, because, you know, you would start, for instance, right after you refurb and it's a complete blank canvas. So then basically you can create anything you want. Or more often, at least in my case, I come and, you know, the carpet is already laid. There's already some elements, you know, some furniture, there's a wardrobe there. So basically you've got to start with what is in there and make it work. So already you're kind of reducing a bit the scope of what you do. Sorry, I'm going to move again to the, I've prepared something for you actually with that.
It was so funny.
Sorry, go on.
Before we went live this evening, we were like, oh God, what's our backdrop look like? We were getting so paranoid, like, oh, they better move these cushions and put these on. No, that doesn't go.
So, yeah, so this one, so this is the first, sorry, so this is the first project I showed you. So this one, for instance, and I love when that happens, right? I was basically working at the scheme for this 10-bed Victorian property. And here it was, you know, this amazing on the left, the chimney with the tiles, you know, so there was like a copper top, there was this blue, this green, there was a bit of pink in there. And that was that. Your scheme, you know, sometimes you're lucky, you've got like the clue is there, just take it. So you see, like in the middle, I put together this little thing that I was going to do my shopping with. So all the colors from the tiles, and this is basically how I build the whole scheme. So you can, it doesn't mean that you have to be literal with that. You just want to work within the tonality of this color. So you see, you've got a bit of a pinky room at the bottom. You've got, you know, you kind of move around, but you keep that in mind. And this is, again, when I talked earlier about cohesion, this is how you can achieve that. There is, yeah, this is one also that is a good example. So this one is such a lovely project. It's a service accommodation. So it was like a modular unit. And you see on the left, I mean, it was pretty grim to start with, because even if it was brand new, I mean, there was this red unit in the middle, right? It was quite a dark room. It was north facing. The floor was like a walnut color, very dark. It was tiny. So, you know, you start a project. So in this case, it's relatively a blank canvas, but you've got some elements that you can't just ignore. So like, for instance, this red unit, right, which it can be a red carpet. It's just how you think. It's like, okay, I will need to bring some of that red somehow into the scheme I do. I can't just ignore it. So you see in what I've done, you see there's a bit of red in there, and that was just because of that unit. I would never have picked red. And then, you know, it was a small space, and it was about bringing light. So for instance, you know, I picked a bedside table that's, for instance, is how do you call that on the wall? It's a floating side table, to kind of leave as much space as I could on the floor, to just give this feeling of space. And then it was, you know, there was no sense of separation between the living room and the bedroom. So this is when the paint comes into play. And I created, I mean, this is something I quite like playing with, is just using paint, or to either, I don't like this word, but like either zone or just give a bit of fun into what you do. It's just such a great tool to use and have fun with. So I kind of created this cube around the bed, just to kind of give the impression of a bedroom if you want.
I mean, certainly there's two things I would pick up on there. One is that you've kind of split the colours like that, which straight away, like you said, what was a small space, you've split it into two almost separate spaces and given that idea of like two separate zones essentially. But also, like, you know, you mentioned about creating space with the floating shelf, using the chair with the holes in it. I don't know what you was like.
Yeah, well, there we go. You got it. Yeah, and this is why, and it's funny because I don't necessarily think like that. It's kind of, I think it's all, and now retrospectively, I'm looking back at the stuff I do to kind of understand, okay, what's the kind of thought process, and this is kind of why it gets to, if you want, it was, you know, the need of light. So I used, for instance, the painter decorator was not happy with me because he could not get what I was trying to get. Like I used like a silk paint, and he was like, no, this is so 80s, you can't do that. And it was just this, you know, the need to kind of bring light. And I thought, well, we need a bit of, you know, reflection in there. You know, this is why I put the mirror to kind of also reflect the light, you know. Yeah. It was also in a garden, this pod. So I wanted to bring also this kind of feel of this green feel, if you want. The light is such a Etsy, such an awesome idea. It was this branch sticking out, if you want, and I wanted to bring a bit of gardeny feel into this room. So when you ask, you know, how do you start? I think it's just, so in this case, if I can just summarize what went through my head, it's like, okay, we've got a red unit, we've got a dark floor, so we need to bring light, bring kind of warmth in there. Then we've got small spaces, so I need to kind of think about zoning. I need to think about leaving the space open. I think, you know, for this project, it's kind of how I did it. So there we go.
Is amazing, really, isn't it? Are you taking note of this?
Yeah. So,
so yeah.
Oh, sorry. You know what? And sorry. No, because again, sorry. I'm trying to you know, because I'm playing with the computer. I can't do. I know women are supposed to do things at the same time. It's not entirely true. Let me go back. Have I stopped sharing?
Oh, yes. Yes, do it again.
Sorry, no, because I think it's such an important, you know, this thing about where do you start. It's the most asked question I get. So it's either blank canvas, and you can just, you know, or you can use the tiles as a kind of, you know, or elements in the rooms. But also what you can do if there's nothing in there is start, for instance, with a rug or an artwork that talks to you. So just don't think about anything, just kind of, okay, what kind of talks to or resonates with me? And from that, you can just pick some of the colors and you build your scheme around that. It's just, I think what I always try to talk to people about is that forget a bit the theory, try to feel about what you do, just have fun with it. So if you found a frame, you know, like a print that is like, oh, this is cool. Well, there it is. This is your answer. Just work around that.
Yeah, totally. It's inspiring stuff. It really is. And your passion is incredible. It really shines.
Yeah, sorry. I get a bit fast, I think, when I get in that state. Sorry, so bear with me.
It's really powerful. Okay, so in terms of like where you would go, you know, to buy all this stuff, you know, especially if you are kind of just starting out and you're a bit of a beginner, perhaps at kind of trying your hand at this. You know, is the high street set up for it? In terms of like retail, where have you got any particular favourites of where you go to get stuff from? Or
I mean, there's always. I mean, I like to Wayfair is always a place I like to start to have a look at. I think a bit as a reference. I mean, Amazon. I was so surprised to see that actually you've got stuff on Amazon. I mean, as I've been doing it for a bit, I'm lucky that I've got a couple of shops. You know, I'm in a small town. And I've managed to create some, you know, some connection with these people. So that is very handy. Dunelm, you know, I mean, the common places, you know, IKEA, they've got some good stuff. So I'm not going to break any new ground there. You've got Home Sense, which is always, if you're still at the beginning of the project, I think, because there's always so much various things in there. You want to almost start there, get your inspiration, and then you build with IKEA stuff and Dunelm stuff around it. I think, yes, something I haven't used, but I've been just advised to use. It's Facebook Market. So I don't know if you guys use it.
I was literally just going to jump in then and say and again off that the design, the dark green sideboard wood effect design that we're basing our next project. I'm very excited about. We totally just bought for Marketplace a restored sideboard with you talk about it, you're better at it.
Well, it's just a restored sideboard with painted dark grey with a brown wooden top,
like brass handles, but it's
proper brass handles.
The character in it, and it's that kind of centerpiece, I guess. And we got that. So.
And you know what? And when you talk about in the process of that, this is the kind of piece that makes a difference. And it's one of the tip I would have, which is spend a bit of time, a bit of effort, maybe a bit more money on stuff like that, because this is what makes a difference. This is what makes it stand out from any other stuff. And if it's not perfect, just change the handle, add a bit of color on the leg, just kind of make it, a bit more, 2020. And I think this is how you really bring personality to what you do. So no, well done, girls. This is perfect.
We did good.
Yeah. Good students.
So I guess we touched on it at the beginning, but obviously COVID has affected us in many ways this year. And I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask was, how has it affected the property styling business? Has there been disadvantages, and has there been anything good that's fallen out from COVID?
Well, in a practical term, I think it's been, everyone would relate to that. I mean, it's been a bit more of a nightmare to source anything, lead time and all that. But I think more importantly, when, the bigger picture, when you think about COVID and the impact on what we do, I think the mindset has changed hugely. I mean, I think we're spending more time at home. The first thing I would say, there's more working from home. So for instance, the need, particularly in service accommodation, the need of office space now is definitely something you want in your list of things you need to have in your unit. But the mindset has changed in the sense that you want more kind of a warmth and kind of a feel of more grounded. So I think with that comes a need for kind of simplicity and warmth and nature. So back to nature. So I think I've done a few polls. I love doing polls and kind of test a bit, where people stand with that. And it was so interesting. This photo of it was a bit of a chalet type of a feel. So there was loads of wood on this wall. And he was the winner by far. Everyone was kind of really attracted by that, because I think it's that you want plants, you want wood, you want nature back into the house. And I think, to me, it has changed the way, where I think before, you were happy with something modern and kind of quite striking and quite, I think now it's more kind of back to more simplicity almost. Clean, fresh plants. So, I see more like a cottagey feel, more of a most Scandi, Zen, kind of strip back to kind of simplicity. And in fact, I think it's deluxe this year. The color that came out, the 2020 color was, I think it's called something grounding, earthy grounding or something like that. And it's kind of more, it's a beige, right? But it's all about that. It's back to the earthy feel. And I think, to me, this is where I would make much more effort in bringing nature into a space.
Yeah, brilliant.
Great answer.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on sort of people working from home. Is property styling something that you can do from your home, and are you able to help clients without actually physically being in their properties?
Yeah, I mean, it's, when I started, in fact, when I started, I could not understand how you can make it work, but actually something, so for people who are local to me, so, the Derby, Nottingham area, I'm happy, I offer, it's kind of a, hands-off type of service where I take on everything. So I come and I stage and I buy the stuff and I assemble it and I drill and I do everything. So I do that. But also, sorry?
Not just pop down to Plymouth tomorrow.
What you can also do, it's something that I do more. So I've got projects basically all over the country, because what you do is that just based on photos, floor plans, videos, you can just get a sense. I mean, I ideally, I want to see the place just to feel. I like feeling stuff, so I like to see it. But then what you do, you just build a scheme. So once you understand your client's brief, you know, you can just produce what I call a shopping list. So based on, you know, the style and the market and kind of the budget, I come up basically with concept boards, so that just we agree on the style and kind of the mood and the feel of the place. And then I'm off with, you know, using the budget that's been allocated. I just built a shopping list of items to be bought, and then I kind of I produce some visuals, if you want, where stuff goes. And yes, so basically, yes, I work precisely on this table. This is my office.
So, Fabienne, so thinking about kind of from a longevity point of view, and I guess from a property investor, you know, a developer, you're constantly thinking like how do we future proof our properties, you know, whether that's with regards to like energy or like new legislation that's going to come out, like constantly trying to be one step ahead and future proof. How would you kind of apply that to like design? Is that something that you think about, or?
Yeah, well, I think the thing I try not to fall into is to follow a trend. As you were talking, I was trying to think, okay, what things I wouldn't use. And for instance, you know, there was this thing with, and I've seen it on Airbnb, and I cringe every time. You know, the pineapple thing, for instance, you know, there was a lot of pineapple, you know, on prints, on cushion, and that's for me is the perfect thing not to do. Sorry, have you done it? It's just all, you know. There was also like a gold, pink gold, like this color. For me, these things, I see them as I'm missing a word. Is that fad? Yeah, there we go. I see that as something that is just there, you know, and it's gonna go. So how I future proof is just I try not to be on on trend kind of too much. I mean, I have always near me. I mean, it's almost on bedside table. These, right? If you go with things like, you know, your paint, if you go with faro and ball, you know, you're not gonna get it wrong. Even if you go a bit more kind of dairy with that color, you're safe. And you know, the thing with paint as well, for me, it's 50% of what I do. 50% is really thinking about the paint, and I think it's often something that is a bit dismissed. And to me, it's where you almost with paint have the chance to put less stuff on the wall, because paint dress already. You already kind of play more the role than just covering the plaster, if you want. Where I was going with that. Yes, so basically, you know, the paint can be changed. This is the thing. So how do you future-proof it? It's paint. So, you know, often people are like, oh yeah, but you don't want to have to change it. No, but if it's every 5 years, you know, it's fine. I think you need to change it anyway. You want to kind of keep it fresh.
And you said the word fad. So what's your opinion on the feature wall? So this was, you know, maybe 10 years ago, people used to wallpaper like maybe part of the wall or a chimney breast. Now they tend to just paint it maybe a different color. Grey is generally what you see. You know, is that what's your opinion on that? And would you rather just paint more than a wall, or
we're totally using feature walls in our next project? So I wasn't slating grey because we were using grey,
but I think it's a bit bad, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a personal thing. I mean, I don't like them. I try to make it a bit more. I think that was a bit of a trend for quite a while, and I think now you almost want to kind of make it a bit more interesting. I've just have in mind like a project, something I've just sent the other night, and I've used, so basically you've got try to explain it. You've got your bed against a wall. So I've suggested a feature wall. But then on the side, I keep the paint going for probably 3 feet or 3 foot feet. 3 feet.
Either or.
Okay. So basically, like almost like a bit of an envelope, just to kind of, you know. So this is kind of, I think I always try to do a bit more, just to kind of just not keep it too simple.
Yeah.
I think there's ways to make it more interesting.
Yeah, keeping people on their toes, just be bold and daring, isn't it? Like you said. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I guess I'm going to ask you now. Do you have any top tips? Maybe your go-tos that you try and incorporate
This is
into
a very good question.
It's like you I was coming.
In fact, I've got a list. Well, I mean, just didn't want to miss any, but yeah, I think there's things to kind of be cautious. I mean, mindful of when you create something. I mean, the first thing I probably haven't mentioned it enough is that when you start, you've got to have in mind who you're trying to appeal to. So your market is the first thing you've got to think about. Then, I talk about all the other stuff, which is more kind of designy and feel, but, who are you trying to appeal to? Then it's functionality, because no matter what you do, it has to work. So the layout and things like that, you've got to nail that, because you might have fantastic colors, but if you put a chair and you kind of, knock the walls and you can't really reach the TV, or the TV is too high, this kind of things, it's not working. So just keep that in mind as you kind of start the process. But a big thing for me in that first kind of approach to it, it's what feel you're trying to achieve, right? For me, I know I've nailed the project if, someone comes in the room and is like, yeah, it feels joyful, it feels welcoming, it feels warm, it's like, yeah, we got it. This is the feel for me. It's what kind of makes it, how you kind of relate, how you kind of really grab someone.
You're making me feel emotional.
Oh.
You are, and everyone that's watching as well. It's fantastic.
Well, it's just for me, this thing about, color, light, what is it? Light, color is light is energy, and energy is emotion. And this is absolutely true. We talk about, there's the color philosophy that we, know roughly about, a bit of cool color, the blues to kind of, more relaxed, warmer color, like here. Like just, that is so true, but you can go a bit further and really use that to create the atmosphere you want and have people, really kind of come into a place. And, for me, a gray is great, but you can achieve so much more with a bit more color. I don't think with a gray you can achieve the same effect.
Yeah.
So sorry, this is tip one. Use feelings into kind of what you're trying to achieve. One that I really like this one, and I keep reminding myself about it. It's commit to your ideas. It's like when you've got a bit of a vision, a bit of an idea of what you're trying to achieve, don't stop halfway. Don't kind of think, oh, maybe I'm going too far, because whoever's going to come there is going to see that you haven't used the idea up to the end. And I in fact, can I share my screen? I've got, I think, an example of that where I was guilty of it. Sorry. Do you know what? I never mind. This is not right. Okay, it was in this room, but you're not going to see what I was talking about. You can see it in the mirror. Can you see the mirror? And there's a black line in the mirror. Can you see it on the wall? Yeah. So this line, I had this idea of having this line going through the studio. It was a studio, and the reason behind the windows, they had like black framing, and I wanted to almost draw the eye to the windows and to the garden, right? And that line, I thought, oh yeah, I want a big line in, and I thought, oh, maybe it's a bit too big. Maybe I should, make a little line. It's like, no. Go for it. And if it doesn't work, just, paint over, but just embrace your idea, because also by doing that, what you do, you give yourself the confidence, you explore things. And I think it's important to try. So there we go. Sorry, this is tip 2, which is commit to your idea. Sorry, I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you think, sorry, say that again.
You're all over the tech, trust me.
It's difficult for me. So gray, so personally, there's no gray in my house. Not even, I don't think there's no gray. However, I like gray rooms, but the risk with gray. So there we go. I think people often go with gray because it seems like the safe color. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think by going safe, you take the risk of doing the same thing as other people. So again, back on Airbnb, if you scroll down and it's all gray, you're not sticking out. So if you want really to go for gray, which, don't get me wrong, and I do gray for clients, but the thing to remember is I use texture, use pattern, use something, use contrast, lift it up, because it's not, to me, I don't want to upset anyone. It's not good enough to just have a gray wall and then yellow cushion and a yellow lampshade and that's it. You've got to bring something else. So to me, gray is a risky color, gray.
Have you been looking at our spare room ads, Fabienne?
No, sorry. No, I think, and don't get me wrong. I think because I know a lot of people use gray, and it can be done very nicely. But you've got to be really cautious with what you put in there. You really want to play with everything else to help to lift things up, because otherwise there's nothing to look around. You need to kind of catch the eyes.
I think what you're saying is there needs to be more breadth and depth than just two colours, and you see a lot of these greys and yellows or pinks and golds and that sort of thing, and there needs to be more depth than just
exactly more contrast, more interest,
yeah. Be bolder, be braver. Courage.
I mean, this is just my view, right? And everyone has a view, but it's just I feel quite strongly about gray.
You're here to share your views. That's why we wanted you on. So yeah.
Sorry. So point 4, this is a point I already made earlier. It's really use wall paint, use paint as a tool as much as the rest. It's part of the dressing. So go, you've got now, for people who are not on the staging group, go there. I keep posting stuff with, people who use paint in clever ways, because I think there's so many options to just bring something different. So don't be scared of using your walls as a decorating kind of item, really. So go on.
So if you're not in it, guys, property staging group for investors, go check it out. It's amazing.
Give it a like. Join.
Point 5 is just some basic stuff, but I had to mention it because I see it so often. The rugs, make it as big as possible, and you want to be at eye level with the center. Just such a common thing that people do. And think about the layout. Think about like your tenant or your guest. Is the flow working? Is it functional? Am I banging my feet? Like kind of just use the space, because there's some and for me it's very off-putting, and you don't really think like that when you do it, but people would scroll down and see something and it just doesn't look right, and it's not what's going to get you people clicking on your photo. I'm a big fan of that, keeping this what I call red thread across basically your property. So I showed earlier this example of this 10-bed HMO where I had like my little like color cards. And for instance, this copper color was on this chimney, and this is something I try to use everywhere in each room, so that there's like a little if you want, between each rooms. And this is what I think it's more unconscious, that almost, and it can be a color, it can be anything, a wood color, like a dark wood that you keep having everywhere, and it can be on a lampshade, it can be a vase, it can be everything, but just a little reminder, and like that you just bring harmony in the whole property. So cohesion. A lot, you're absolutely right. A lot of it is absolutely subconscious, and when you think about it, this is when you tap onto that the subconscious. This is when you get into the area where people don't make rational decisions anymore. So you're not, you want to pick your USA because of the price and the location. But if you've got an interior that actually kind of attracts you, kind of, you create this kind of emotion, the two first are almost like irrelevant. This is how you're going to pick, how you're going to, how you feel about it. And this is the power, of what we do. Power of staging, Details in a property. So the little touches, I mean, I love them. It's just showing attention and kind of care to what you do. So, like putting an example I would give is, for instance, if you paint the interior of your cupboard in the kitchen, different color, or just these little things you do, it's gonna make your tenants or your guests feel special. And again, this is unconscious stuff. It's just how you attract people, and you show them that the place, well, you make them feel special, basically. And these little details to me are absolutely priceless when it comes to creating an interior. Sorry, I'm going through a list. You stop me if it's if it's a bit long.
Before I dive and copy a bit.
So I think I've got a couple more questions, if that's okay, Fabienne.
No,
you touched on your property sourcing before. So my question is, are you still actively invested in property? Are you involved in the sourcing at all? Or are you simply, but are you very much focused on the styling side now?
I've got a property, but I'm really not proud of it at all. It's something I bought in France maybe 15 years ago, and I'm still paying towards the mortgage. Okay, that's my investment. So it's a dream of mine. It's not something I do. It's something I've always looked at, and so I think it's something I will get to it. At the moment, I'm concentrating on that purely because I love it. But I've got to keep in mind why I started in property for, and that was exactly that. I wanted to start, I was interested in flipping particularly because I think it was, for me, this idea of creating something pretty and selling it, making a big difference and a transformation, and try to get, money from it. So so this is what I'm looking at. Yeah.
So your backdrop is beautiful, but obviously your day job is interior design. So does that, when it comes to designing your own house, become like almost a chore, or do you still enjoy it?
Yeah, no, look, it's in fact, I've put earlier, I had so much fun doing that. I put some photos of my home, so you see a bit what's going on here. I mean, it's a bit of a playground, really, and I've always done it. And I don't only do it with my house. I tend to do it also with my friend's house. So yes, you see, I like. I mean, it's all around warm color. I quite like kind of autumny kind of colors, and I like to create. Like for instance, there's a corridor. I have a thing for corridor to create a bit of story in a corridor. So I've got a bit of a Japanese corridor, and I've got a bit of a Mediterranean one. And even walls and fences, I like to paint. I mean, garden, I'm a big fan of, making a room from it, kind of really create, again, a personality. You see, I mean, I paint ceiling. And in fact, I'm just in the process of doing, this is my son's bedroom. So you see, I've kind of worked on it over the weekend. And I mean, so yeah, it's not only a job. It's definitely not only a job.
A massive passion as well. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But something that you'd overlook, like your door frames are all really bright and bold, and that's something I think people just generally overlook. But like,
no, it does, and it's like for instance this house, because before when people come, it makes people happy. And this is why I love so much what I do. It's creating this emotion, not only in people who come into the place, but it's also, now I've started doing some coaching with people and teach them to kind of create things. And it's to see the joy in creating something like that. I think it's such a fun, interior, staging. It's just such a fun area because you're dealing with colors, you're dealing with emotion. And I think it's just, for everyone involved, I think it's I love it.
And I bet it's really rewarding. A question I had, so if people were interested and wanted to develop their own skills, you mentioned you do some coaching, but if people wanted to develop their own skills in interior design, in staging, in styling, where would they go to? What have you got any advice for people?
Yeah, well, I think it depends what they want to do with it. If it's to become, like making a job out of it, or just kind of explore a bit their own ability. I mean, this house is a good example of that. Is really kind of try things for yourself, kind of, you know, don't be scared, and kind of just practice at home almost, you know. Toilet is a good place to start, for instance, or entrance, you know, places where you don't stay, that just, you know, where you just pass, so you can afford to not making it completely right. Then, you know, Pinterest and Instagram, you know, this is such an amazing source of inspiration, really. And, you know, and then I think, you know, a bit the same way I've done it is, you know, we've got the power of social medias. And if it's something you want to do, I think I've seen on Instagram people who just basically all they do, it's taking photos of their house. And I think this is how they get known out there. I mean, I haven't really done it myself. You know, it's not something I'm kind of pushing. But I think there are really ways now to not only learn, but also make yourself known for it. There's a couple, I mean, there are schools, and in fact, I've been talking to a few people on the group who are doing some trainings, and you find online there are some interior design training. I mean, I'm buying books. I mean, now I'm doing the other way around. I've always done it by almost intuition, I would say, and I'm trying to learn the rules behind what I'm doing. Books are great, you know. YouTube, you just, you know, understand a bit more the theory, basically.
That's so cool. So what is next? What is next for you? What's the future hold?
Well, I mean, I'm I've got, you know, this answer reflects my mind at the moment. So I've got the ongoing project. So I've just started this. It's a 13-bedroom in Liverpool. It's an HMO theme room. So all the rooms are going to be different. So that's going to be me for a while. And then I've got projects. I've got one in Wembley, a small service accommodation. So this is kind of the ongoing stuff which I want to maintain. I've started doing some coaching. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying people kind of discovering their own ability, really, and kind of having fun in the process. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, maybe I need to structure something around that. I'm also something I've done before. So I work, something I didn't mention. I worked a bit with he's quite known in the property industry, with Julian Morris. So I've done some project with him, and also helped him with some guides. Is done, and I'm thinking of kind of trying to look into you know, creating maybe some schemes, to help basically people to create to have almost like a shopping list. So what I was trying to explain earlier, what I offer to clients, I would have almost like a template of some schemes. So I talked about Scandi, I talk about cottage. So maybe kind of extract the essence of that and put a shopping list for property investor to use. So I'm kind of at the moment working on different ideas. And the group, which taking me you know, this new baby of mine is taking me a bit of time. So keeping the baby happy.
It's a toddler now. It's a small child rather than a baby.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah. I enjoy so much. It's a true pleasure, really. And this is why I'm so keen. The group is an example of that. I'm so keen to share that, because I know I'm not the only one who feels like that, and I want people to have the chance to, do that as well. Really.
It's a way to express yourself, isn't it? It's fantastic.
So I think should we ask? So there's a question on the comments that I want to ask before we forget.
Go on then. Let's do the questions.
Right, one question coming in. So my SA units are occupied by both leisure and contractors. In that case, going forward, how should an interior be preferable?
Leisure and contractors, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that if you look at the sorry, I'm missing a word. The limiting factor, there we go. The limiting factor is the contractor, because usually for contractor, you try to keep it quite simple, usually quite budget. But if you're trying to appeal to leisure, this is that side that's going to take over, because you can't attract leisure with a contractor finish, but you can attract contractor with a leisure finish. So I would say you want to concentrate on the leisure, and that's more, therefore, you've got to, I would say, just to simplify, raise the bar a bit. So make it a bit more homely, make it a bit more special. That would be my take. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And a question that I'd like to ask, how would you approach a HMO differently to an essay? So if we talk about an essay for leisure, how would you approach that differently to a HMO?
Well, I mean, it's more, usually it's often more students, so you can go a bit more wacky. It's young adult, so you kind of a bit more kind of flexibility in the choice of colors. So I would say probably the colors I'm going to look at are probably different. In fact, I was talking about colors earlier and Far and Ball. I haven't used them for long. Am I allowed to do that? Little green.
You brought props. It's amazing.
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to. These guys. So it's just I'm showing you I think using kind of more vibrant colors. I think is my way. I think of approaching it. Where essay it's more about the experience. I think I'm a lot more focused on kind of creating an experience when it comes to essay. How you're gonna, stand out on Airbnb, so, I was talking about Grey earlier. It's just, I think both it's difficult because, again, if you're kind of targeting the same market, I'm trying to think about, what about an HMO for young, contractor, young adult, and I would say, maybe for essay and HMO in the same target, maybe you're not so dissimilar. It's just usually essay in my mind. It's more creating this homely feeling, this experience more than in an HMO, which is more functional and a bit more kind of temporary and kind of a bit more wacky, maybe.
Yeah, and I guess it's ultimately about understanding who you're catering for and who your tenant, ultimately is.
Yeah, it's back to that. It's back to that. Who you're trying to appeal to, And I was working on a project on the coast in Liverpool, and it's kind of, I was trying to get a bit of, it was touristy. I wanted a bit of the sea feeling, kind of that thing. So it's just, you've got to adapt to the story, to whatever you're trying to do there. So every case is a bit different. And what's the competition as well? I haven't talked about that, but what your competition is doing. So have a look first on your local competition and see what's the common theme. So how do you stand out from that?
Yeah, great. That's a great point, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess the final question really is, where can people find you after this show? How do people what's the preferable way for people to get hold of you if they want to find out more? If they've got any particular questions or they just want to start a dialogue with you, potentially looking at
the group is as I said, it's a baby, so at the moment it's getting all my attention. So if you want all my attention, go on the group. But my business is called Stage for More, so I've got a page which I think you guys kindly put in there. I've got also we haven't given my email. Yeah, so look, this is 2020. You've got 2020 way to kind of contact me, really. The group and my page, you'll find me. Yeah, and again, I think it probably came through, but I'm here to help, really. I love having the chance to guide people and to just give them the opportunity to see things a bit differently sometimes. So don't hesitate. Yeah.
And I think that, it's really obvious for everybody to see that you genuinely, do just want to create beautiful spaces and help people do that. And clearly, absolutely your passion all day long. And the fact that you, want to help people by, like we said at the beginning, you very, very kindly offered, 15 minutes to everyone that wants it. So everyone that's watching this live now, 15-minute consultation. There's no upsell there. That's not Fabienne trying to, upsell you anything at all. That's just
no. It's look. If you need a hand, I'm here. Sometimes this is all you need, and this is the thing, like just a quick chat or just kind of a clarification on color, and sometimes you just need to just hold a hand, especially at the beginning, and then people just fly.
Amazing.
So yeah, if you do want that, guys, just just drop a comment in the comments box, and whether you're going to be watching now live or watching later on, then that'll be an exclusive to this group. So get your thumbs up in there, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Shopping.
I'm having a coughing fit all the way through the last 20 minutes.
Speak for most of it.
Sorry about that, Pete. Sorry, it's like it's like.
All right. And it's one of the this moment when you're like, I can't cough. It's so good.
Sorry about that. I've not coughed all day. Yeah, I mean, really, what's left to say is just a huge thank you on behalf of me and Steph and the Ride Property community for giving up, over an hour of your time this evening and any time going forward that you're going to, offer out to people that want to take that opportunity. I've already said it. Your passion, your drive, your enthusiasm for what you do is infectious, and it's really obvious, and it is, it's uplifting. You have genuinely uplifted me this evening, and I know you have for everyone that's watching now and everyone that will watch later on as well. So thank you so much. Really nice comment there.
Thank you. It's been lovely to have the chance to talk about my favorite topic. Thank you.
And you've got 4 million giving you massive big ups there. Most genuine, helpful lady ever. Super talented and conscientious. She uses great furniture too.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
If anyone isn't already following the group, then please jump over. It's a really, really good group.
Yeah, no, do that. I mean, and again, it's there. It's there to help. So just use it.
Totally. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you guys. No, lovely for your time. Thank you. It's been great.
And probably the only thing left to say is remember whatever you do, enjoy the ride and take it easy and take care.